We're talking about white supremacists. Charlie Kirk is here. He's debunking some college students about that. I think we're still on the same topic, aren't we? Let's get into the video.
Hi, y'all. So before I ask my question, I want to clarify a point that y'all mentioned earlier. You said you don't believe in white privilege, correct?
Yeah, it's a myth. It doesn't exist.
Okay. So according to the Bureau of Prison Statistics from last month, 38.3% of our current inmate population is Black. But according to the 2020 census data, only 12.2% of our national population is Black. So if you don't believe in white privilege, how do you explain this disparity?
So why are they in jail?
It has been the
He already answered her question. Why are they in jail?
Because 13% of the population is responsible for 51% of violent crimes.
That's right. 13% of the population is also.
Welcome to my TED Talk.
That's it. Yeah. More than half of those are behind bars are Black, which are only 13% of the population. What does that tell you? Well, when a young man is walking around punching people in the back of the head, when 13-year-old
carjacking.
Yeah, when 13-year-old are carjacking, like you find me, tell me, name 3 white kids that are doing that.
Yeah.
Name 3 Black Chinese kids that are doing that. Name 3 Mexicans that are doing that in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Just waiting.
Usually
waiting in a comment.
Usually white boys tend to go a little bit more crazier and go to the more extreme side of
yeah, you might talk about drugs, other behaviors are not good. But that's not what
I wouldn't even say that. I would be more like, the Jeffrey Dahmer, Paul Ted Bundy type.
Yeah. So there's that extreme side, yes.
That's where, white boys tend to go.
Yeah. Well, you can say more of the mass shooters or white. Yeah. But
they don't end up in jail because they end up 6 feet under.
Of course. So there is that side when it comes to the whites as well. But when we're talking about criminal behaviors, consistently with the numbers, I mean, let's be honest, we don't have to be ridiculous here. Black people are committing the most crimes. To say that doesn't make you are the white face, you're the black face of white supremacists. Give me a break. Like these are my people that are being locked up. These are my people. These are the people of my skin color that are behind bars. Their cities are dying. Why? Because like you said earlier, right? You sparing the rod and you spoiling the child.
Mm-hmm.
The more you refuse to address their behaviors, the more criminal behaviors are going to increase. The more of the mentality of hip-hop music is being promoted and pumped into their psyche, and they're living out the very ideology that they are told. Women's on the beat, you are a gangster, just take your gun, rob them, run from the police. You tell them this message all the time. So when they begin to carry it out, they already have broken homes, right? The fathers are kicked out of homes. So a single parenting home, a lot of these kids are living in poor communities, poor education. And then when they do something bad and we call it out in the hope to say, this is wrong, this is a problem, let's look into it. You said, no, you can't talk about that. You're racist to say something about that. It's like, no, guess what? You are the one who hate white people, who hate black people. Not the ones who are talking about it. The ones who are not talking about it.
And not to mention the fact that it's usually black on black crime.
Oh, those don't even make the news because it's so common.
Mm-hmm.
It's only a problem if the shooter is white. Mm-hmm. He goes in a black community and commits a crime. But if the black people killing black people, it's like just a common thing, man. Sand on the beach, man. That's very common.
Not just no morals or self-entitlement. It's no personal accountability or personal responsibility.
Nope, a nothing burger. Yeah. Anyway,
sorry.
All right, let's get back to
I'll get off my soapbox.
This way for years, since the 90s.
Why do people go to jail?
Why are black people in jail at higher rates than white people?
That's the question, right? Maybe because they commit more crimes than white people.
But that's not true. It actually is.
They do. So every independent analysis shows that blacks have committed a disproportionate amount of crime. No one wants to say it out loud, but it's true. In fact, in New York, 52% of murders are committed by blacks, 40+% of arson, 60+% of drug deals. And so the question you should really be asking is what drives them to commit crimes? That's the question, right? The real question is, and maybe I can ask you, what percentage of blacks are raised with two parents in the home?
So actually, according to the Uniform Crime Report for 2019, Black or African American individuals committed only about 1 million crimes, while white people committed about 4 million
Yeah.
crimes.
So,
Yeah, but
yeah,
that's
hold on.
proportion.
Yeah. How about the proportion?
There's a lot more white people than black people in the United
It's
States.
a 60% white country and a 14% black country. So you just proved my point.
But the other thing is, he's not talking about poor girl going online. Let me go on my phone quickly so I can argue as if every one of these numbers are correct. But the point is, what type?
Oh no, the numbers are correct. She just helped him prove his point. That's the only
Absolutely.
problem.
But the thing is, what kind of crimes are we talking about, though? We have to take that into consideration, right? Because what are the crimes? Robbery, shooting,
Speeding.
like, because there's a lot of things that they classify as crimes, right? You
Yeah.
kind of have to be careful what it is. Even going over
Reckless
like 100 miles
driving.
per hour can be considered a crime. So
Exactly.
what exactly are you
Domestic
addressing here, and
abuse.
how do you put these different definitions of crimes to either groups before you come down with a number? But what we do see, the pattern we do see with black people, the crimes that they're committing is armed robbery, a lot of looting, a lot of stealing, and they do a lot of shooting of one another and also of white people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's problematic.
It's violent crime. Period.
Violent crimes, like criminal gangster-like behaviors.
Carjackings.
Yeah.
Drug dealing. I mean,
And again, her numbers just prove the point, right? So
shall we talk about somebody
1
who had
million
more
to
than
4 million.
3 times the legal amount for an overdose of fentanyl in his system?
That is crazy. Oh, that's another thing. Oh, Lord have mercy. Let's leave that alone. I think we had a whole live stream about that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's keep going.
Proportion.
Yeah. How about the proportion?
There's a lot more white people than black people in the United States.
It's a 60% white country and a 14% black country. So you just proved my point. You literally, so basically that's a disproportionate amount of crime. It is.
But listen, I want to say, look, you are coming up here and you're asking a question, and that's not easy to do, first and foremost, no matter what. And I really appreciate your question in front of all these people. It's hard. So thank you for asking your question. But let me point out what you just did, and you didn't know that you did it. You switched from proportion to raw numbers.
Right.
And you did that to make a point that you thought you were making, but you weren't. But look, your issue was that Black Americans only make up 13% of the population, and yet they make up, I think you said, like 38% of the prison population. And then you switched to raw numbers because so Black people only make up 13% of the population, but they commit 40% of all homicides and 60% of all violent crime. Unfortunately, I don't think that's anything inherent in Black Americans. That's not what I'm saying. That's just the fact. And what Charlie is saying is, look, we've got to look at why that is. So you're claiming that that disparity is inherent proof of discrimination. So would you also say the fact that there are fewer Asians in jail means that than white people, that there is discrimination against white people? No. Disparity isn't proof of discrimination is what I'm trying to say.
So let me just throw, and Allie's exactly right. What percentage of blacks grow up with two parents in the home?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
less
have
than
it pulled up.
20%. That's why there's so many blacks committing crimes and they're in jail. It's that simple. The death of the black family is why blacks are in jail higher than their population percentage. It's that simple.
May I see your criminology degree? Do you have one?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Wait.
We've gotta. Are you a
We gotta argue
biologist?
from an
Ketanji
expert.
Brown Jackson.
No, let me ask you a question. So do I need a criminology degree to be able to understand that 75% of blacks don't grow up with two parents?
To be well versed in it, I believe so.
Okay.
Do you have one?
I don't, but I'm studying it.
Okay,
right
but
now.
you.
Oh, she studied it.
But you did the same.
Ooh.
You looked at a statistic, and he did the same thing. You
Look,
don't have a criminology
Have you
degree,
even
and
taken a
neither does
criminology
he.
course? Have y'all
Hold on
taken
a second. You're doing an argument from authority, okay?
It's a fallacy.
So the laws of physics don't change whether or not you're a physicist, okay? The law of thermodynamics doesn't change whether or not you take a course on it. Answer the question. Why do blacks have a broken family versus a nuclear family, and does that translate to higher rates of crime? Do you admit that?
Why is it that blacks don't have parents, though? Why?
Good question. We subsidize single motherhood in this country through the federal government of the United States. Great question.
There's
Now we're
one.
getting somewhere. Back in the 1960s, we put forward a program where black women married the government and broke up with the men they were with. welfare state, Lyndon Baines Johnson, and that has contributed to blacks committing more crimes.
I believe institutionalized racism is your answer, but I don't believe I'm getting
Oh,
anywhere
but
with y'all.
But
so-
no, just let me point something out. Did you know that it's not white Americans that have the lowest incarceration rate or the lowest rates of crime or the highest graduation rates or the highest median income? It's not white Americans. It's Asian Americans. They have the highest median income. They have the highest graduation rates. They have the most degrees. They have the lowest incarceration rates. And guess what? They also have the lowest single parenthood rates. Okay, so that is true across the board. It's not just Black Americans. And unless you are willing to say that the reason why Asian Americans make more than white Americans, or the reason why Asian Americans go to jail less than white Americans, is because there is systemic institutional racism against white people in this country, then your argument against Black people doesn't really work.
Wow.
Somebody please take this
that-
girl's shovel away from her.
that
She
is,
just keeps digging, like Megan
That
said.
is a uppercut to the jaw. Well, let me see.
Oh man.
I have compassion for girls like this. All right, so we 528. Okay, 523. She's probably honest. She's probably a good girl, and she probably really cares and trying to make a difference, right, by asking these questions.
But she's so
I get that,
arrogant about it. That's the problem.
The idea that you have to be, what is it?
She's got a white savior
You gotta
complex.
have an education in order for you to discuss this. I have a problem with that. This idea you gotta be educated to talk about anything. It's like the same thing, right? What is a woman? I'm not a biologist. Excuse me, you don't have to be a biologist to know what a woman is.
No.
The numbers speak for themselves. You can examine things for what they are and make your argument. But one thing she just said here, I really love. If Asian people who've also experienced discrimination and violence in the past, right,
Mhm.
and they're able to do as well in this country, why aren't Black people able to do the same?
Right.
And I think he brings us back to Thomas Sowell's argument, right? White, he says it in such a way, white liberals and Black something. I have the book. I'm gonna find it for you. But the point he's trying to
Are you
argue.
talking like Malcolm X's quote? The biggest threat to blacks, the biggest threat to the modern Negro is the white liberal.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. But Thomas Sowell, in his book, the title of the book is I'll get the book in a minute. I have it in my library here. But the point he was arguing in the book is that the real issue with Black culture is immorality.
Mhm.
Like, it sounds like one of those things. You can say, what is immorality everywhere? Well, here's the difference. In Black culture, we glorify immorality. That's the difference. We worship the immorals. We give them BET award. We put them on our walls. We worship the guy who glorifies the drugs in the city, makes money off of it, and many lives have been destroyed as a result of what he done. He raps about it, and then we buy his album, and then we call him a superstar. That's the difference. In many other culture, we say, that guy is wicked, whatever. He does have his fan base. We don't lift him up to the same degree.
Prime example. Look at what they did to GF.
Who's GF?
George Floyd.
Huh?
George Floyd.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Exactly. So now and the next time, what that means. Okay. So GF is a good example of, it's kind of like
propping up the wrong person.
Yes, we are. We are worshiping the wrong group of people. We give credence to people who should be like, hey man, cast away. Like, period. Like, people we should say, you know what, we done. You don't represent who we are the ones we actually promote. Like, now we should talk about what led to this. I don't know. I think being poor and all that, not having family, looking at the wrong people to set examples for us. You know, the condition of our community could play a role. And we finding the people who either made it, even though they might have made it by cheating us, taking advantage of us, using music and talking bad about our women. We don't care about that. We give them a free pass and we still glorify them. That could be the reason. Or there's something really wrong with us, or we have a really negative self-image.
Or women who sell themselves out.
Yeah. If a person like Sexy Red,
or
right, who talks about the color, how do I say
Meg
this?
the Stallion.
Yeah, like Sexy Red, for example, who talk about the color. I don't want to lose my religion here. She talks about how what's between her pants is brown. she actually makes some music about the color of what's between her pants, right? And she goes to high school where black people are, and the teacher plays the music inside of the school where black children are, and she's welcome there in the state in the gym, and they play her music. Every black kids are dancing. This is glorified, right?
Or
So
WAP.
you wanna act WAP, right? When you watch what's in those videos, and you said, okay, can you tell me any other group of people that are doing that? Any other race?
Certainly not white people.
Any other ethnicity? Can you help me out? Where the women who behaves like a prostitute is propped up to be, she's called a queen.
And glorified.
She's glorified. She's worshipped. I think the only people that are doing that, honestly, are black people. And the question is, what in the world is wrong with us?
The only one I can think of would be Madonna.
Yeah, good point. Good point. But that's like one in never.
hundreds.
Good point.
Like that's like the only one in the last 4 decades I can think of.
And she's old now. She's completely irrelevant now. But the point is, yeah, these are things we should be asking ourselves. I think as black people, if you want accountability, you want change, these are things we should be talking about.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, real
People, it
change.
doesn't really
Yeah, exactly.
work.
So let me ask you one thing. You said institutional racism. I got a black friend right up here. He's great. He's great. So let me ask you. Let me ask you a question. What can I do that he can't do?
What do you mean?
If institutional racism was real, what can I do that he can't do?
Well, you're less likely to get arrested.
I'm sorry. No,
That's
if we
not-
both commit a crime, he's going to get arrested and I'm not?
You could.
Wait.
Another fact, cops are more apprehensive to arrest a black person because of the stigmatization of police today
Mm-hmm.
than they are to do to a white person.
Wait, yeah.
Most black people who get arrested, they got arrested not because they're black. Is sometimes they're resisting the police, they're not following orders, and sometimes they're all rude and disrespectful to the cops. Okay,
Or all
I've seen-
three.
Yeah, I've seen the videos. Yeah, some of the videos is like, "Yo, why are you stopping me? Why are you?" I'm like, "Bruh, like have some common sense. Like just behave, talk like a regular person. Stop being rude." Now, in some cases, there are some cops who might still act up. I'm not saying that doesn't happen,
Mhm.
but the likely you'll be more prone to be hate by a lightning as a black person than to meet one of those cops, to be honest with you.
So the old saying goes, you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. Which I think is apt in this scenario
Yeah.
because you sometimes need to go along to get along.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
you know, if a police officer comes up to you and is like, "Hey, we got reports of a strange person walking around outside doing some weird stuff.
Yeah.
You know, who are you? Do you live here? Can I see
Mhm.
your ID?" Don't argue with him about showing him your ID. Just
Yeah.
show him your ID,
That's right. Get his
settle
badge
the
number.
problem, and
Mhm.
be on your day.
That's right. And get his badge number because you have the right to ask him for that. He can't say no.
Yeah.
There's a camera on.
I mean,
He
if
has
you
to give it
really
to you.
have a problem with it, then get his badge number.
Get his badge number.
Otherwise, just
Pull
show
out
him
your
your
phone.
ID.
Pull out your phone. Take a picture of him. This is a public. You in public.
Yeah.
He can't say no. He can't
Otherwise,
refuse that. You
just
have the right to do that.
show him your ID and be like, "Yeah, I live here. Here's my ID. Here's my address
Yeah.
on my ID." You know, and he'll be like, "Okay, just checking. Want to
That's
make sure everybody's safe and cool."
That's it.
And he'll be on his merry way.
Absolutely. I get stopped by the police all the time. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think last year I got stopped 3 times. I
Like,
think one time I got a fine. So what? I just talked to him like a regular person.
yeah,
That's all.
that's all they want. You treat them with respect, they treat you with respect. It's a mutual thing.
It's that simple. It's that simple. But poor girl.
You could.
Wait, so we just went through this. Blacks commit a disproportionate amount of crime in this country because of broken families. So give me one law on the
It's not
books.
because
You
of
said it's
broken
institutional. Give me a law anywhere that discriminates against blacks. Give me one law anywhere in America.
You want current or past?
How about right now?
Well, the fact that crack cocaine is criminalized more than regular cocaine.
No,
which
if I
is
if I deal
isn't a law against black.
if I deal crack cocaine, I'm getting arrested regardless of skin color. Give me a
But if you were dealing
law.
white cocaine, you're
Give me
less
a
likely
law
to get a harsher
anywhere
sentence.
that allows white people to commit crimes and get away with it, and blacks can't. Does that law exist?
Not anymore. But that
Because
doesn't
there's
mean
no
it's not real.
institutional racism in America.
Because there's
The idea of institutional racism is laws on the books.
Just because it's not down on paper doesn't mean it's not real.
Okay, give us an example. Not
God.
just disparity. Not just
I'm sorry, that is the dumbest, dumbest
down on
response
paper
I've ever
doesn't mean-
heard.
Well, because it's not down on paper doesn't mean it's not real. So what does that mean?
I
we're supposed to
don't
be-
know what
We're
that
supposed to be
means.
afraid of something that doesn't exist, that we can even see. Okay, that doesn't necessarily. What is that? COVID-19, I guess. But but the question was, tell me one law right now that could forbid a black person from doing the same thing that a white person could do.
There's nothing.
She draws blank because there isn't such a law.
There isn't. There is none.
There is none. And I say that to say this, friends. I am a black man. Somebody, just in case you didn't know.
In case you haven't
And
checked your
I
monitor
am
in the
the
last 5 minutes.
assistant. I am the assistant pastor of a church that has about 60 to 70% white people. I'll tell you, the last thing we ever talked about is skin color. They never view me as that. They don't even think about it as, well, Pastor James is preaching today. Bring the gospel. They visit you. We have issues in the home. One of our church member comes. He's a white guy, by the way. Fix things up for us. Sometimes something is happening in their homes. I'll go there. A family member just died. We do the funeral. Doesn't necessarily matter because that's what people do. What I'm trying to say is I live and deal with white people for the most part. They don't care about my skin color. They don't see it. Sometimes I think, come on, man. Like, don't you see I'm black? No, they treat me like a human being. So now you can see because they're Christians. I agree with you. That's probably why. But the point of the matter is, the world is changing, man. The perspective of majority of white people has changed. The racism of the past is on life support today, like Stephen Carter says, right? It's completely dead.
And the only reason it's on life support is because of Obama. Prior to Obama, it was pretty much dead.
It was dead. And you're right. Before Obama, especially in PA, you know how many mixed couples I saw?
Mm-hmm.
Like there were so many mixed couples.
I went to a gaming group. I went
to
to a gaming group. My friend who ran the gaming group, his entire family is a mixed family.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing, man. And I got a mixed child, so I know what I'm talking about. I live in PA. It's considered one of the most mixed state in the United States, I guess. That's what they say about PA. But one thing I've learned living in PA, they're not mixed because of skin color. They mix because they love each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it has nothing to do with skin color. But
No.
after Obama, I noticed a trend. A lot of mixed couples begin to separate.
Yeah.
It begins to be like, oh, I got to find myself a black wife. I got to find myself a white. Like, what?
Why?
And I'm not blaming Obama all for this, but I'm just saying there's an ideology that is really creating division among the race. It doesn't have to exist.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. And that's exactly what she's pushing here. This poor girl, I think she loves black people. She's trying to do the right thing. But her education has fooled her. I think she does. I think she does. I think she has a lot of black friends. I think she's
the
trying to be nice.
education system's pumping out a bunch of racists because this is like straight up racist ideology.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
Like
It's
this
just
is
well
play
presented.
for play handbook out of
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
any 3-letter
Yeah.
group
Mhm.
ideology.
Yeah, it's like a narcissistic compassion that's being presented under the notion that I care for black people, but it's being presented with all the wrong ideologies behind it. Anyway, let's bring this one in.
The idea of institutional racism is laws on the books.
Just because it's not down on paper doesn't mean it's not real.
Okay, give us an example. Not
God.
just a disparity. Not just
The
a
look
on
his
disparity.
face.
God isn't, you don't see God?
He's on paper. Read the Bible.
I didn't mean it like
uh, Megan, you said it's not education, it's indoctrination. Exactly.
Exactly. God's on paper. Just read the Bible.
Yes, it is.
Oh, from my mind to his mouth.
That is perfect. He done preached my message already. Yeah, just read your Bible. You will understand what's going on in the culture. You really will. You really will, man. I'll tell you what. That was perfect. Unless I'm gonna hear it again.
Paper, read the Bible.
Let's just,
It doesn't mean it's not real.
okay, give us an example. Not just
God.
a disparity. Not just a
God?
disparity.
God isn't. You don't see God.
He's on paper, read the Bible.
I didn't mean it like that.
Not exactly the same thing, but I love the answer. The thing is, God, you may not be able to see him, but he's all over the place. He's in your circumstance. He's in your dreams. He's in your life. As a matter of fact, he's in your behavior. It tells you you either inspired by the Lord or not. So I mean, God is all over the place. He's out in nature. When you look at nature, you're getting a perspective of God. You're getting the body language of God. You get to see all of that. So, well, I love his answer. If you read your Bible and you hear the word of the Lord, that's perfect. And the law that he's asking about is, yeah, God has his law written in the Bible. So she totally made a mess. She just peeped herself.
Insert foot, chew vigorously, and don't stop until you get to the knee.
Yeah, poor thing. But I give her the courage. She's still standing there. At least she's not crying like the one guy that I did a reaction to, started weeping and crying. Anyway,
well, I mean,
God bless everyone here. God bless you too, my friend.
God bless you, Pokey.
Paper, read the Bible.
I didn't mean it like that. I'm getting nowhere with y'all, and y'all are not answering my question, so I'm going to end this Q&A right here. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
We actually did answer her questions, but I do appreciate, even though she's got an attitude, I do appreciate her courage. I do. That is difficult. That's difficult
Yeah,
to
I mean,
come up
it's
here and ask
difficult,
a
but
question, but you can also do it respectfully.
But what bothered me about her, I'm glad she was there. She wasn't being honest. At least be honest, okay? And be willing to be corrected. Well, that was a fun fireworks show to end our time together, right?
Man, I'm getting nowhere with y'all.
Sad part is, I don't think he's right on that. I think she was being truly, genuinely honest.
Yeah, I think she was being.
I think she was being 100% genuine with him. And I think she believed everything she said.
This is the kind of mindset that gets people like Audrey L to come around, because they realize like, hey, if I can't get through you this way, I might as well grab a pew pew and take you out.
Yeah,
it's a very dangerous mindset. We shouldn't play around with it. Yeah, somebody once said it this way. I'd rather be hurt by the truth than to be comforted with a lie. Let me put it for you. I love to put the quotes on the screen. All right, there we go. Yeah, so poor girl needed to hear the truth. I think the truth made her uncomfortable and she walked away.
Oh yeah.
Well, it doesn't change the fact it is true. It's just uncomfortable for you, but there it is. Better to get hurt by the truth than comforted with a lie. I don't think we need any more lies today. I think black people don't need to be lied to. They don't need to be lied to. I don't think they need to be criticized all day long or coddled either. Right? There's a group that criticize black people nonstop, but there's a group who are pandering and, shall I say, cuddling black people's behavior that are not good. But there's also a group who stands in the middle and say, we can do better. We can rise. Even during slavery, you guys did right. But now all of a sudden, you're crying and weeping all over the place. When there's no laws forbidding you from living. That's not really true. Now, there might be some things in books that I just can't find any. But we have no excuse. If the Asians could do it.
Try Matthew 24, 12, and 13.
Yes, sir. Matthew 24, 12, and 13. Okay. Good point.
Because iniquity shall be multiplied, the love of the many shall wax cold.
Mhm.
But he that endureth to the end, the same shall be saved.
There you have it. That's correct.